Board for the 4th of September order. Proceed to the roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Bush?
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Here.
Mr. Driver is absent. Ms. Metcalf? Here.
And Mr. Piccolo in the back, he's here too. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 7th and August 20th meetings. Have all the members of the board had an opportunity to review the minutes from August 7th, and are there any corrections or additions to those minutes from anyone?
No correction.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the August 7th as they're written?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, let the record indicate that the minutes for August 7th have been approved as written. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the 20th? Any changes or additions to those minutes?
That was on the 20th?
The 20th.
No.
No.
You good, Laura?
I'm good.
Okay. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes as written for the 20th?
I move that we accept the minutes for August the 20th as written.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Let the record indicate that motion passes 5-0 to accept the minutes from August 20th. Okay, we have two regular items on our agenda tonight. The first is a development order for 101 40th Street, which is changing a business from a restaurant to a t-shirt shop. Is either Mr. Hubbard or Mr. Allen here, and would they like to address the board?
My name is Lance Watson. I'm with Southeastern Consulting Engineers representing Mr. Yair Alan on the request to construct a 1,406 square foot addition to the existing building. The existing building is 2,822 square feet. The project's located on the corner of Highway 98 and 40th Street, where 40th Street Pizza is currently located. And the use would actually be changing from restaurant to retail, requiring 14 spaces at one per 300 square feet. And we'd actually also be reducing the impervious area now, getting rid of that entire parking lot now is concrete. So where we're adding the addition at, we're actually proposing to remove some of that concrete and reduce the impervious area.
I have a question. Is the area that you're moving to the south of the building?
To the east.
To the east of the building?
Yes, ma'am. So you guys have a printout of the plan?
Yes.
Okay. So on the existing page, on C1 existing conditions, you can see the concrete goes all the way almost to the setback. And we're well off the setback with the addition and where we're removing the concrete out on that east side, back to where the addition is.
So the east side of the building is actually behind the
The
building?
back.
Yes, sir. Behind it, if you're on 40th Street.
I didn't know there was concrete back there. Sorry. I never went back there.
98 is to the north of the building.
Right. Okay, so you're going to keep what's there as far as the front, which is the west side and the south side?
Yes, ma'am. So
parking.
they'll reconfigure, not reconfigure, but readdress with new striping the actual parking spots and designate the 14 required spaces, including 2 handicap, and then remove some of the impervious area on the backside.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any questions?
It said the plans have been reviewed by EPCI and suggested adjustments have been addressed. Were there any? I'd just like to know what the adjustments were and if they've been completed. I didn't know what addressed.
Yes, sir. We didn't have the actual height, building height and parapet wall height shown on the plans we submitted, so we added that to it and sent it back in the short.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Now, does this building meet the height requirement? I mean, the 1 foot above the crown of the road?
Yes, sir. So the plan, the proposed plan height is only 20 feet, 20 foot 3 inches above from the slab. And the slab's, I mean, it's within a foot.
And
of
this
the
is not part of that CCL line?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. I'd like to open it up for comments from the public. Anyone with a comment, please come up to the mic, state your name and address. No, what's the city's position?
Recommend approval.
Okay, I'll open it up for discussion from the board. Anyone in the board comments?
No, I hate the pizza place to go away, but however, we do need the retail business.
I'm going to miss the pizza place. But I guess I can buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, we'll buy a t-shirt.
That was really my only thought, and it appears to be compliant. I think that is a situation that is increasing in Mexico Beach as we're losing places for people to eat, and I hope they pop up somewhere else.
Yeah, in reality, all we're doing is taking one tourist commercial establishment and changing it to another, just taking the eatery away from it.
Right.
Meets all the requirements of the LDR,
Yep.
and I see no reason not to grant the development order. So does anyone on the board want to make a motion as to whether to recommend approval or disapproval to the city council?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We recommend approval to the city council. By a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes.
Ms. Metcalf?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a variance request from Mr. Olson for 613 Fortner Avenue. And he's got a non-conforming lot right now, and what he wants to do is replace a current deck, which is 2.7 by 7.7, with an 18 by 5 foot deck. Now, Mel, the way I understand this is, the reason we need the variance is because it's a non-conforming lot, is that?
That's correct.
So nothing is going to change other than we're going to get more impervious surface.
That is correct, because the deck they're gonna put up still is okay with setbacks.
Okay,
So bottom line, it goes from just under 40% to just over 40%.
okay.
So isn't there two proposals in here?
No, he had an additional proposal if we didn't like, the first one was for a covered deck. The second one was for if we didn't approve that, maybe he could just have a deck. Same size. It was just
So will we
without a
have to
cover.
have two
Without-
votes, or just vote on the first one and forget about the second?
Well, if we approve the first one, then we don't have to vote on the second one. If we don't approve the first one, then we have to consider the second one.
Got it.
Okay, and in looking at this, you know, we have to consider the standards for variations. So that should be our consideration there. Does anybody in the audience have anything to address? Slogan?
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. I thought the variance was because this is going over the allowable 40% impermeable, which Mel just said basically didn't matter. So I have an issue with that. Don't have an issue with them changing their deck at all, but it appears that they can make a perfectly usable deck without going over 40% impermeable and needing a variance. This doesn't make sense to me because they're going 3%, 3.5% over. They want a 43.5% impermeable surface according to the information in the packet, which is 3.5% over the allowable. But I know for a fact that if they simply go up to the 40%, which is allowed, then they'll have a perfectly usable deck And there's no need for a variance because variances are for hardships, and this is not a hardship. Gosh, we go over this so many times. This is not a hardship. And I know that they can get a usable deck because I have two 5 foot wide, 6 foot long decks at my house. And they want a 5 foot wide, 18 foot long deck at 43% impervious. So if you just go up to 40% impervious, then you're probably going to have like a 12 foot long deck, which is ample. 5 feet wide and 12 feet long is the equivalent of both of mine. And I know for a fact that you can get 6 comfortable chairs, 2 tables, and a barbecue grill on that. So why do we even need to take a variance for this when they can get what they need, and it's not a hardship by going up to the 40%? This doesn't make any sense to me. So there is no hardship here, and we see these instances often, and we rarely see one that is a true hardship case. And the one that we did see 3 years ago with Mr. and Mrs. Ponder, the actual hardship case was denied. So it seems to me that the simple and correct answer would be take the deck out to as far as it goes and hits 40%, and then stop it because they'll have ample room. In their statement, they said they just want a place to put a couple of chairs and sit out on their deck. 5 feet wide and 10, 12, 14 feet long is ample. So I don't understand the need for a variance, especially on such a non-conforming property. And to go over the allotted 40% does not make sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alston here? Yes. Would you like to address her concerns?
Well, what we did, we got rid of a 120 square foot deck that was on the ground in the front. We eliminated that. And the one that's on the side is what, 40?
The
It's
one,
a 2.5 by 7.
yeah, and we can't set a chair out there
And
at all.
then we got between the two, it's 140 square foot, and then we're just asking for 90 back.
Yeah, what we're removing is a total of,
It's right here.
it's a 11 by 9 and a 10 foot one that was on the front that we took off. It was 120.19 square feet. And then the side deck that we're wanting to replace is a 2.5 foot by 7.5, which would be 20.79 square feet. So that was already on the house. We're just wanting to replace those. It will actually be less square footage.
Than what we had originally when we
It was
bought the
90
house.
square feet is what we're wanting to put, and what was originally there is 120.19 plus the 20.79.
So it's like 140 square foot that we got, that
But,
would be.
but that does not address her concern that you're going, even,
But
you know, taking the old one out, you're still going over the impervious surface allowance by 2.5%. Why can't you just make the deck smaller and then you won't need a variance?
Well, we were trying to make it where it looks, the ratio with our house, where it doesn't look out of whack, I guess you would say, where it'd be more in,
It fit the house better.
So is the width of the house 18 feet or what?
24.
yeah. And when we,
We were 10 feet back from the property line. We'd be 7.5 feet from the other property line, which is the side. And
So making your deck 17 by 5 or 18 by 4.5 is really not going to make that much difference in the deck then, is it?
well, 5 by 18 or 5 by 16 or whatever.
If I could add some information to this to hopefully clear it up. The deck is a second-story deck. The area under the deck is just your regular yard that's not concrete or anything.
right.
So if they
It's
construct
open.
their deck board such that water is allowed to go through it, and is suspected, then we don't think there should be a problem. And the reason that we brought it up for the variance is just, we're kind of gun shy lately, so we thought we'd bring it before the board to see if they were agreeable to that.
Yeah, I don't see anything in here, maybe I overlooked it, but I don't see anything in here that talks about it being an elevated deck.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
Oh, I guess we,
Yes. I was wondering.
Oh, yeah, it's on our second story.
yeah.
And the structure that's there now is wood decking and you're planning
It's,
to
it's
replace
just,
that with wood?
yeah, it's just a 2.5 by 7. We can just step out from our second story and just look out, you know, that's
We
all we
can't put a
got.
chair or
You
anything.
can't put a chair, nothing in there.
And that side is where you can see the water.
Yes.
Let me ask you
It's a
this.
water view.
The deck that you removed out front, was it on the slab?
It was on the ground, on the dirt.
It was on the dirt.
Yes.
It was.
Okay.
Mhm. And we made a yard out there. I mean, we've done some landscaping.
What type of decking was that?
It
Wood,
was-
it was solid though. I mean, it was, you know, it was a pretty good little job to get it out of there. But it's the second story, the water flow under it.
We're not
Run
putting,
through it.
we're not putting any kind of enclosure underneath it or anything.
Okay.
And when I had asked earlier, they said if we put the boards, is it 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch between them where the water can go through? Is that what it is? the regulation?
Yeah.
It's width of a nail, I know, that's what I do. I do mine.
Okay, okay.
So, and then the ground underneath will be pervious. So
Yes.
there's just grass, dirt.
It's just, yeah, it's just,
It's gravel, like where we park our cars.
well, most of right under there is all dirt, sand. You know, it's just sand.
Gravel.
Yeah, there's a little bit fine gravel that's on that
And
look.
and Mel, if this new deck were in place and at some point in the future they decided we'd rather hardscape that underneath there, that would be a separate.
That
would be a
different.
Yes.
Okay, we understand that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? City's position?
We recommend approval, but if the board deems the fact that that deck doesn't really add to the imperviousness of the lot, we don't even need a variance, to be honest.
Okay. Discussion?
Well, it was non-conforming already in 2005. So, I mean.
Well, it's still non-conforming, because the
Yeah,
things
I
that
know,
made it
that's what I'm saying.
non-conforming
We're-
haven't
we're
changed.
We're just making it more so.
We're not increasing the nonconformity.
We're reducing the non-conformity.
And my question is then, if they're gonna build the deck with spacing properly, I mean, was it just a judgment call on the city's part to bring it here, or could they have just done it and,
Well, they applied for the application.
okay?
We're acting on that.
We were just wanting to try to follow the proper procedure.
Yes, ma'am.
and The guidelines. We don't know.
Anyone else? I mean, if the impervious area is not changing, or, excuse me, if the impervious area is not changing, I don't see any reason to even consider a variance. I think the city should just go ahead, and I don't see a need to bring it to the council either. I would just go ahead and, approve the deck plan without going further. And given the fact that that's not changing, even if the board feels that we still need a variance for it, if you look at the standards for variances and you answer all these questions, it's not conferring on them any right that doesn't belong to anybody else. And it's not putting them in any kind of special position. So again, if we decided to decide this on the issue of variance, I would still recommend approval for it. So can I hear from the board on do we still need to consider this as a variance?
I just think the city probably should have approved it and not brought it here, but
But now that it has been, I understand why it has been, but I'm in agreement with you. I don't think that we're increasing the impervious surface here, that the water's going to do what is intended by this.
Okay, so what are the rules of order on this? We just table it and say does it need, or do we have to vote on it, or what?
There's no vote necessary as long as there's consensus among the board that they're not increasing the impervious at all, and the city should go ahead and approve it as
Okay,
it is.
is there any member of the board that believes that we should consider this request for variance, or are you happy with just eliminating it and saying go ahead with it.
So if they're not increasing the impervious, then that 43% number then
Is below 40.
is below 40.
Right.
Okay. Then I agree. I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, just make note that the board believes that without changing the impervious surface, we really don't need to consider this. They should just go ahead and construct the deck as they plan to. Any additional items now that we need to talk about?
Not at all. We just have our comp plan meeting Thursday morning at 9 a.m.
And I would ask the audience out there too, we are having some problems with future land use and determining whether or not to allow residential use of commercial property. So if you have any interest in that, you might want to be here at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, because that's when we're going to decide finally what we're going to do on it. And that will affect us for the next 10 to 20 years out. So if you have any interest in that, you might want to.
I'm traveling out of state that day. I already reported that, so I won't be here.
Yeah,
I'll be here.
well, I believe Bill will be back too, won't he?
I don't know if they'll be back in time.
Just a question.
I don't remember.
Ms. Logan?
So please clarify for me, by your decision, your consensus on saying okay for the deck expansion, does that mean that anyone who wants to build a deck and decks go over the 40% impervious and that deck is on a second floor, then that's okay in the future? Is that what this ruling means?
Everything is always done on a case-by-case basis.
So this is a precedent set for anyone who wants to build a second or third floor deck and it goes over the impervious, is that?
But it's not affecting groundwater. So I don't understand.
Then
what
the
your issue
LDR will
is.
have to be changed because decks come under pervious and impervious, do they not?
Depending on how you build the deck. If the boards are up into one another, then water can't get through. If there's a slit there, then water can get through.
That's something you need to look at in the LDR when you get to it.
Okay.
And also, Mel, the concrete slab that we park on, old driveways, that if you replace that with pavers, if you dug up your driveway and replaced it with pavers, that's impervious, right?
It depends on how close you put the pavers to one another.
And what's under the pavers
Yeah.
too?
If you dig up all the concrete and put pavers in, pavers normally have some area between the pavers that allows water to go through.
Right.
And so we don't consider that as part of the impervious.
Any other members of the board have any business or anything you're here to discuss? Okay, there appearing to be no further business before the board, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Okay, we asked, just for you guys,